whenever I do a video in this spot, it's always like I'm never sure how, it's like the light just hits me in a certain way where I could be like that and I could be a little more like, it almost looks like I'm censored, or like, I don't know, having the light, or like that, like have the light just hit my eyes. Like it's that one shot in Schindler's List where he's like smoking the cigarette and the light just hits his eyes. Yeah, it looks just like that. Anyway, the fuck am I talking about? Okay, so all this stuff happened today in the world of video games. They shut down the developer Visceral, which I've always really liked. I love Visceral. Of course, I don't know if it's a popular opinion or not. I'm actually not sure. But I loved that Dante's Inferno game. I really had a lot of fun with that. I know it was a little bit close to God of War, but maybe a lot. But I thought the setting was great. I thought they really built the world of that game really well. It was just a lot. It was just fun. But the Dead Space games are great. They're just a great developer. I really like them, and hearing that they were working on a Star Wars game was so exciting. And and then you had Amy Hennig. Is that how you say her name? I don't know. Involved in this new Star Wars game that she was making with Visceral and stuff like that. I was really excited about that, and then they announced today that it is not happening. Or rather, I guess the game is going on, but EA decided to shut down Visceral, and now the game is going. The game it's almost passive aggressive the way they put out this press release, because the beginning of it is like, it was going to be a single player adventure, but market research says that we shouldn't do that, so we're going to do something else. It almost sounds like they weren't happy about the situation. But anyway, they completely shut down Visceral. This great developer is now dissolved. Are they? I don't know if they're all just fired or they're just going to keep working under EA. But yeah, and the game is this other thing now. It's not going to be what it was. And man, it really bums me out, because my favorite types of games are single player story, single player adventure. That's just me. I have never been a multiplayer guy. I like to come home. I saw an interview with Trey Parker once, which, ties in because I was just playing the South Park game a minute ago. But I saw an interview with him where he was just like, I ain't got time for any of that bullshit. I like to, I work super hard at the office. I come home. I just want to play some fucking thing by myself and go into that world. And given even how janky South Park inherently is, like, those games do a good job of that. You really delve into that world, and it actually explore this thing that you've seen on a TV show for years. So anyway, I know what he's talking about, and I definitely feel the same way. I just got to I want to come home and do something on my own, Not that they're necessarily turning the new Star Wars game into a multiplayer game, but they really de-emphasize the single-player adventure kind of thing. And it started this whole conversation about, is single-player story-type games, are they dying? Like, is everything becoming Destiny with loot boxes and shit like that? Like, what's going on with that? Like, even Shadow of War, the new Mordor sequel, whatever you want to call it, it seems like it went that route. That may be overblown a little bit. I've heard, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard from a lot of people it's a little bit overblown. But it just got this talk about, like, is single player story just dying? Like, what's going on with that? And it's a weird situation because, as soon as I heard about it, I wrote about it. I put on Twitter that, like, I know a lot of people who are upset that single player kind of story games are dying, but then they consistently turn around and don't want to pay full price for one. Like, these single player games come out, people are like, good, and then they come out and it's like, I'll get it on clearance later. And it's like, yeah, but that's not gonna help, And, I've said that kind of stuff before. Like, just get, like, if you want these games, support them right when they come out. And I've been aware in the past it sounded a little douchey, like, "Hey man, pay the $60 or else." I understand some people have more and less expendable income than others, so I get that, and I don't ever mean to sound like that. I guess where I'm coming from with it is, it's like when The Last Guardian came out. I was so moved by that experience. And I couldn't tell anybody about it without them going, "Yeah, I'll buy it when it's $5." And I think in those situations, it's like, well, is it even a matter of money in that point? It sounds like you're just dismissing it, even if it doesn't sound like you don't have the $60. It sounds like you just kind of write it off as not worth my, I don't pay more than $1 for those. I don't pay. So, and some of those same people get mad when those games don't come around anymore. So that's where I just kind of wonder if people need to meet in the middle a little bit. You know what I mean? Like a Johnny Appleseed situation. Like I'll throw it here, I'll throw it there, but not there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, I'm not going to say everyone should pay $60 for every game every time it comes out, because I do think some more variance in the equation would be a good thing in terms of, hey, this game, I honestly really liked what Lawbreakers did that came out earlier this year. They were like, this game doesn't have a campaign. All right, it's $30. I thought that was a cool move. I know a lot of people, missed that one or maybe didn't pick it up, but I thought that was a great move. Hey, it doesn't have a campaign. $30. Here you go. It kind of eliminated, like, you couldn't really complain. It was like, oh, this game doesn't have a campaign. $30. I think a little more honesty with games would be good. But at the same time, I think it goes on a little bit on the other side too, where people want these big adventures, but just when they hear that it's single player or it's, a certain runtime that they don't think is enough, they just, no, I won't pay. I think there's a little bit of wiggle on either side. I think the developers could be a little cooler, but I think people can, and I should say too, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from people, but I'm also coming from a background of, buying Super Nintendo games that were single-player, story-based games like Final Fantasy 3 or 6 or whatever, Chrono Trigger, and paying I remember having to save and save and save. Those games were like $74.99. I remember getting Final Fantasy 3 for $74.99 at Walmart in the early 90s. That's early 90s money. That's not even right now. Like, 75 sucks now. I mean, when we're talking back in the 90s, and I would eat shit to get those games. And I loved them, and I never thought about the runtime of the games. I just played them, and then I'd play them again and again, and they were great. So I'm coming from that background, that's my bias. So when I see people today like, oh, this game's only 15 hours, I'm not going to pay $60 for it. I'm like, well, maybe those are the most amazing 15 hours ever. Last Guardian wasn't that long, but that game fucking moved me. Now, I know some people didn't, it wasn't their cup of tea, I understand, but just for me personally, it was worth it to me. Everybody's got a difference in whatever they find valuable. I personally, I've never judged that off of a runtime of a game. To me, like, Eco is one of the best games ever made, and it's 6 hours, and I wouldn't want it to be any longer. I think any longer would have been boring. I think that game is perfect, and that's a game that I saved up, $50 when it came out, and I had no money, and I felt satisfied, because I try to look at it as, is the experience complete? Do I feel like, wow, complete when it's over? I think that's more important than the runtime. Because, because I'll say too, there's also games that run 70 hours and I don't feel like I've completed anything. But that's just me. I'm not saying like other people should think how I think. That's just where I'm coming from. When I get a little misty, I guess, about when I see people not wanting to pay for single-player story-based games. That's just where I'm coming from. But again, I think the developers could do some stuff. And honestly, they did it to themselves to a big degree by, they put these games out and then, a week later, the game's $30. Really, a lot of people don't necessarily feel motivated to get it right when it comes out. And then if they buy it later when it's $30, $20, like you already know it's going to head that then it's they it only sold this many copies for the first week. Well, yeah, everyone knew that come Black Friday it was going to be $15. So why the hell are you buying it now? They created this whole culture of waiting. I'll wait it out. That's why Nintendo has the right idea, man. They keep their prices the same. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't burn me a little bit to, find a 3DS game 3 years later and it's the same price. Sometimes it's like, oh, man, really? But you got to hand it to them. Their games retain value. They continue to have, they always feel valuable, and I see a lot of people going, I don't buy any games the first day. Well, Nintendo games, I'll buy those because those don't drop. So like the tactic or not, it worked. But I'm just curious where the single player games, where are they in the zeitgeist right now? Are they on their way out or not? Because you know what? I was looking at like the top like PS4 games too. And the top PS4 games are like Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's like, okay, so these are not, this is not a genre that's gone necessarily. And I mean, come on, Nintendo's carrying the fucking tour. But that's the thing is like, is it just Naughty Dog and Nintendo now? I mean, obviously Guerrilla Games is in there and whatever, but is it just dwindled down to those few and maybe that's it? Or is it just, are we in sometimes you get in these transitional phases where we're between things. I don't know, but I'm curious what you think. I'm curious what people out there think about the situation with single player games that are just a story. I like linear. I mean, a game like Breath of the Wild blew me away. So that was good, but at the end of the day, I like a good linear, awesome single player game. That's ultimately what I'm gunning for. So I hope there's still room for that. It really bums me out that it seems like some of these companies aren't going that way. So are they not going that way because that is what the people want, or are they greedy? You know what I mean? Like, are they, because EA talks about, games as a service. We got to do games as a service. Is that what people want? Is there more value held in these bigger kind of experience games? Or is it just greed? Like, we'll make more money making a game like that because people keep buying, shitty loot boxes or whatever they are. That's not my thing, but I'm curious what you guys think. Is it a perceived value thing, or are they just greedy? I'm curious what people have to say about that, because despite everything that I've said in this video, I don't really have a ironclad opinion on it. I'm just kind of farting out thoughts. I don't, I've explained my background, my biases. I don't have like this is what I'm, this is my opinion, and if you don't like it, suck it. That's not where I'm coming from. I honestly don't know. I'm curious what the state of things is. I think there's a coyote. Holy shit, I think there's a coyote crossing the street. Is that in the... I'm going to turn my lights on. Those are my brights. What the fuck? There's like a little... Yeah, dude, that's a fucking coyote. It's too far... I would get the camera, but it's too far away, and I think it just ran into a bush. That was fucking weird. I saw 100 of them on the way to my house once. Okay, anyway, so yeah, I'm curious what everybody thinks about that. Personally, I'm playing South Park now, and I think it's doing a phenomenal job of putting you in that world and being a really high quality single player experience. Man, I really like that. Also, this is definitely an American thing, I think. I don't think Japan is having this problem. I think just it's kind of a Western game deal, isn't it? That's the impression I get. Anyway, let me know what you think about that. Man, yeah, I'm really torn on a lot of stuff here, so tell me what you think. Every time I'm in the car, I act like the police just show up, so I'll just maintain the tradition. What the... Is that the cops? What, is that the police? Is that the police? Anyway, I was just messing with you guys. Take care.